Well, welcome to a new Team CGC 9.8 video. So today I want to go over some of the most overhyped 9.8 comics. But I also want to talk about the ones I think you should buy instead of the overhyped ones. So first one up is a New Mutants 98 and a 9.8 in the direct edition. Yeah, Deadpool has just gotten so popular in the last like 5 or 10 years or so. There's a lot of these graded on the census now in the direct edition, most of them being for a New Mutants 98, 9.8. There's 4,192 out there, ticking over 4,000. And 17.6% is the 9.8 ratio, which is not too bad, to be honest, for an early 90s book. But just them being so much graded, you'd expect the ratio to get pretty low. And it is kind of trending down over time, which is nice to see. But yeah, I think a little bit overhyped for this one in the direct edition, with recent prices going up for about $1,250 on this one. And collectors, so the different option here is collectors really target the newsstand edition for a New Mutants 98. I saw the newsstand edition sell about a month ago or so. It was on a heritage auction, I believe, $2,880. Interesting on eBay. In August, I think it was, there was a newsstand edition 9.8 white pages sold for $1,695. I think someone was just unaware that the newsstand gets a really big premium on a New Mutants 98, and they basically sold it for, a couple $100 more than the direct edition. So, I mean, if you can get the newsstand anywhere close to that price, that's fantastic. But I think it's going to be more like $2,880 for the newsstand edition. Yeah, collectors just really target serious collectors really target the newsstand edition in New Mutants 98 9.8, with there being over 4,000 of them now on the census. Yeah, a 1 of 4,192 is, not feeling like the best collector item. So absolutely consider the newsstand edition for New Mutants 98 and the 9.8. Okay, next one, a little bit overhyped, I think. Got really overhyped during the pandemic. An Ultimate Fallout 4 in a 9.8. In the first print, there is now 4,103 of them in a 9.8 on the census. So over 4,000. I know when I purchased mine in 2019, there were like 1,700 or something like that. And the ratio, which is, kind of concerning and kind of makes me think it's overhyped. It's a 26.1% right now, which is actually pretty decent for a modern book, but it hasn't really trended down or ticked down over time. I remember, grabbing mine when there was 1,700 of them. It was about the same ratio. Yeah, maybe it was like 27% or something like that, but it was right in the mid-20s. And a lot of times when a heavily graded book is graded all the time, the 9.8 percentage kind of slowly ticks lower. And the lower the better with these 9.8 ratios and percentages. Like for this one, Ultimate Fallout 4, about 1 in 4 of them are sent to CGC, are 9.8, so 26.1% of them. So it hasn't really trended down, the 9.8 ratio. Now there's over 4,000 of them, a little bit overrated, I think, on Ultimate Fallout 4 in the first print. They're selling for about $1,300. So, if you don't have this one, I wouldn't blame you if you kind of got in there right now. During the pandemic, they got over 3,000 for a second there. That was when it was really overhyped. So, it is definitely a better time to buy than mid-pandemic for an Ultimate Fallout 4. But you know what? I think an alternative to an Ultimate Fallout 4, instead of the new Spider-Man on the block, maybe check out the new Batman. Yeah, Batman Beyond #1 is such a better collector item, I think, in a 9.8. I'm a huge Batman Beyond fan, so maybe I'm a little biased, but definitely the numbers say it's a better 9.8. There's a 476 in the 9.8 on the census. A 1 of 476 is just feeling like a great collector item. And 24.8% is the 9.8 ratio. So a little bit lower on the 9.8 ratio, which both of them are good for modern comics. They're solid ratios, but Batman Beyond is not nearly as heavily graded. So, if Batman Beyond was as heavily graded as Ultimate Fallout 4, I bet the ratio would be like 18% or something like that. And yeah, Batman Beyond, good reason to think it's a little bit lower printed. It's kind of got the WB Kids thing on the cover, so I don't think people were thinking, oh, this is going to be like a huge key, and you know, they were just throwing them to the kids to color on or whatever it might be. But yeah, so for that reason, it's a little bit lower printed. It's a pretty tough one in a 9.8, and a 1 of 476 is just so much better than a 1 of 4,103. Yeah, there's just so many Ultimate Fallout 4s. That book just blew up during the pandemic, and it's just kind of makes it overhyped right now. It certainly as a collector item. Okay, next one is a Secret Wars number 8. Marvel Superheroes Secret Wars number 8. So this is another one pretty similar to a New Mutants 98, but kind of like the 80s version. A very popular book, heavily graded. Yeah, check out this one. 5,407 9.8s in the blue label on the census. 22.2% is the 9.8 ratio, so it's not a very good ratio. There's a ton of them on the census. So this is just not a very good collector item in a 9.8. This is one I've avoided. I don't even have one for the Secret Wars 9.8 in a direct edition. So the option is to go the newsstand route, absolutely. There's a lot of collectors that do that. There's another option too that I like even better, but the newsstand sold for $1,451 if you're interested in that. The direct editions are going for one, recently I saw sell for $475. One recently on eBay had just sold like yesterday, I think it was, for $541.01. So yeah, serious collectors on this one. You can't dog the cover. Like, the cover's super classic. Mike Zeck cover. I think a lot of people really love the cover, which is completely understandable. But serious collectors are going after the newsstand on this one, and that it sold for $1,451. So I really like an Amazing Spider-Man 252 on this one. Yeah, this is one I do have, luckily. I got the direct and the newsstand edition here in 252. Such a better collector item in pretty much every way. What is it? 1,678 in a 9.8 instead of 5,407. And 8.2% of all graded copies are 9.8. This is a book that over time the ratio is trending down, like you want to see. When I bought mine, it was about 12%. Yeah, it was over 10%. Now it's only 8.2% of all the graded copies are 9.8. So you love to see that. Yeah, Amazing Spider-Man 252 is, I believe they're about 1,100 or so, 1,200 in a direct edition. But the newsstands, I think they're about 1,700 for a good deal. So a couple $100 for the newsstand edition in a 252 just seems such more of a better collector item than the newsstand in the Secret Wars number 8, which is 1,451. Given that this is just a better, factually a better 9.8 on the census, and it's the first overall appearance of the black costume, whereas like Secret Wars is kind of the origin of the black costume, but I'd probably rather have the first appearance if you put me on the spot. And you get an Amazing Fantasy 15 cover homage, which is just super classic, kind of ties in to Amazing Fantasy 15, which is like the biggest Silver Age book ever. So to me, there's just so much more to like about an Amazing Spider-Man 252, which is why I went after that one, and have kind of avoided the Secret Wars, which I think it's a little overhyped for sure. Yeah, I didn't realize there was over 5,407 in a 9.8. That's so many on the Secret Wars 8, 9.8. Okay, last one here. Wolverine Limited Series number 1. I really like this one. I do have it in a direct edition, but I think it's a little bit overhyped and not the best collector item in a 9.8. And I think there's better options out there. There's a book that I probably should have bought, we'll get into in a sec. Instead of, I do have the Wolverine Limited Series number 1. But there's 3,865 in a 9.8. 17.7% is the 9.8 ratio. So in this one as well, collectors are going after that newsstand. Yeah, whenever there's a bunch in the 9.8 on the census, serious collectors are going for the newsstands. I saw one sell for $1,605. That's a pretty big premium because the direct editions are going right around 500. Yeah, so this is similar to Secret Wars, where the newsstand gets a huge premium. Yeah, so consider the newsstand edition, absolutely. But I really like, and I talk about it quite a bit, an X-Men 133. This predates Wolverine Limited Series, and it's the first solo story with Wolverine, and great kind of solo Wolverine cover as well. Such a better collector item. 324 9.8s on the census compared to 3,865. And I'm not, the Wolverine Limited Series #1's just got that classic cover. So I'm not saying like X-Men 133 is as classic as a Wolverine Limited Series, but they're very similar books for similar reasons, and factually, just X-Men 133 is so far ahead. A 1 of 324 in the 9.8, and a 10.4% of all graded copies are 9.8s, which is lower than Wolverine Limited Series #1. The lower the better. So X-Men 133 is just a great collector item, and I prefer it over the Wolverine Limited Series, and I probably should have bought it instead of the Wolverine Limited Series. Back in 2019, I'm pretty sure I picked up my Wolverine #1. X-Men 133, a recent sale, $1,020, which is, I think, a great deal. Yeah, it's that surprised me that it got that low to 1,000. Yeah, again, with like a newsstand Wolverine Limited Series going for 1,605, the X-Men 133 going close to $1,000 is just such a better deal, I think. Also saw one recently sell 1,225. So that's kind of the range for an Uncanny X-Men 133. And yeah, I do prefer that book with Wolverine Limited Series #1 just being a little bit overhyped, especially in that direct edition with a 1 of 3,865. Probably not the best collector item. Okay, that's it. Just a little short list of a few books that kind of pop out that I've always liked alternatives to them. And the one I did think of, just sort of before I did the video is, instead of an Ultimate Fallout 4, consider the Batman Beyond #1, because, two huge heroes, the new Spider-Man, the new Batman. The new Batman is such a better collector item in a 9.8, so you might want to go that route. But yeah, kind of fun to go through some of the most overhyped 9.8 comics and just think of the alternatives and think of where those serious collectors are going instead of the ones that aren't the best collector item, I think. Okay, we'll leave it at that though. Thanks so much for watching. I'll see you on the next one.